Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Masterminds, starring Zach Galifianakis, Kristen Wiig, Owen Wilson, Leslie Jones, and Jason Sudeikis, directed by Jared Hess. Now, will this be a good inclusion? Because I remember going to theaters for this, and I saw like maybe a little bit of it and walked out of the theater, but and never bothered returning. But is it as bad as I remember? Let's get into it and find out. David Gant, played by the Hangover's Zach Galifianakis, is an armored truck filled with money driver in the year 1997 as he's partnered with Kelly Campbell, played by Kristen Wiig, as she wants to rob the place she works for called Loomis Fargo, and they go shooting at a gun range, and David shoots inside his pants, but nowhere near the skin until he has to shoot his engagement photos, and not with a gun, but with photographs, with his fiancee Jandis, played by Kate McKinnon, as he's late for their photo shots, with Enya playing in the background, and she farts on the side of his anus. And I thought, oh God, this is already pretty stupid. Despite this is a biopic of how David robbed a crap ton of money from Loomis Fargo back in 1997, and it's also a comedy with humor that fails to make me laugh. Meanwhile, David is at work and Kelly as she's in a bad mood, and they're behind schedule, and their boss almost fires her and her, I mean Kelly, while she pretends to sexually harass David until a gun fires out the window, accidentally, I'll say, and she gets fired from there, and he makes her leave the uniform while she's not wearing undershirt. Let me rephrase that. And David asks Kelly for her number as she writes it on his skin with a pencil, which doesn't usually work nor make any sense. And she hitchhikes and gets in a car away from Loomis Fargo. And none of this is working for me, nor is it funny at all, in my opinion. 3 weeks later, Kelly sees on the TV with her friend Steve Chambers, played by Owen Wilson, getting an idea about robbing Loomis Fargo for $18,000 or more, as Steve asks Kelly to meet up with David in a diner, and he doesn't see Steve's face. David doesn't, and he asks David to be called Geppetto, like in Pinocchio, and doesn't tell his name because Steve is David's puppet master, and asks David to rob the entire money at Loomis Fargo has, and they give him time to accept it, and this isn't really making me laugh at all. While days later, Kelly calls David to get an answer from David, and he reluctantly says yes after talking sexually about how they can escape in Rio de Janeiro, while Jandis is totally controlling, and I don't like any of the characters at all, as they come off rather completely stupid. As this is a stupid movie that sadly happened in real life, but it's not making me laugh, sadly. Kelly trains David to train and in order to rob Loomis Fargo, and the day comes as his day at work finishes for the day, and fakes going home to Jandis and goes inside the building, takes all the money while getting a few interruptions. For example, he turns off his walkie-talkie when Steve talks to him about focusing on the mission. David's new partner, Todd, forgot to clock out for the day, and 2 hours later, when David is completed, he gets stuck in the back of the van as Kelly and Steve come in witnessing he's stuck in the back of the van as he's driving into the ditch because the doors wouldn't close. And how dumb is this movie? Honestly, very freaking dumb, in my opinion, as this isn't as funny as Napoleon Dynamite nor Nacho Libre as far as I'm concerned. Kelly gives David a disguise as well as a fake ID with the name of Michael McKinney and goes to Mexico with his fake ID from the airport, as this plot is absolutely crappy. While at the airport, a security guard doesn't search him while grabbing money in his ass. And did nobody think he's up to something? As this doesn't make any sense. And this plot makes no sense whatsoever while Detective Scanlon, played by Leslie Jones, and another detective look for David, and Steve and his wife Michelle learned David stole $17 million. Not thousand, but $1,000,000. As David gets to a beach in Mexico while at a pool at the hotel, in which he takes a crap in, which is totally unnecessary. While Jandis sees David as the one who robbed the Loomis Fargo truck. While her mother says she never liked David, which I got that impression when I saw her in the previous scene, and Steve thinks of turning David in. And does any of this crap make sense? Absolutely frickin' not. While Kelly is against Steve, and as am I because he's a jackass to begin with, the authorities find David in the hotel he's staying at and tries to get some ice, but nothing comes out, and he sees the authorities going after him, and he steals a boat to get away as Steve and Michelle get some clothes for themselves, as well as a couple of cars and a new house with a pool, as they get nothing for the kids, which is completely selfish of them as parents, while Kelly tries to hear from David, as he does call from a phone booth in an island, as he learns Steve's name from his ID card is in his own wallet, which is a dumb move by Steve himself, and he has no choice but to hire Mike, the real Mike McKinney, the real one, played by Jason Sudeikis from Horrible Bosses, as he drops a piece of ear in front of the kids, which is a total bad idea, as this movie is full of bad ideas in general, and that is so damn irritating. Scanlon asks David's partner at Loomis Fargo as Kelly leaves a message for David saying he wants someone wants you dead, as Mike buys a washed up gun and doesn't understand a damn thing the seller says because the seller speaks Spanish, and Mike is stupid enough to take it anyways as he uses it to shoot David but smokes himself, but it doesn't kill himself as Mike makes David run away while on rollerblades and catches a truck when Mike throwing a spear and crashes all over the frickin' place and gets away from Mike, and Kelly gets a pager call from David, and she tells him the truth about Steve and what his intentions should be, and I'm not buying this piece of drama when it comes up, like in the scene, for example, while Mike captures David and tortures him in the toilet at first until he sees his fake ID with the name Michael Aaron McKinney, which is the same exact name as Mike himself, and born in the same hospital at the same day as Mike letting David live, as that makes no frickin' sense as he falls for his fake ID, and that was so unrealistic at so many levels to a point I hate it. David and Mike get to know each other and bond together while Kelly is interrogated by Scanlon and her partner, while Kelly calls Scanlon a man, which is usually very disrespectful, as Kelly learns David has a crush on her, or she does anyway. She learns David has a crush on her. Meanwhile, David calls Steve demanding $6 million in his bank account, or else he will go to the authorities and tell him about him. Meanwhile, Kelly is encountered by Jandis while at the store, and they fight one another, which doesn't work as an action sequence, as it looks super dumb. And as David calls Steve while Steve has Kelly hostage while in front of the police station, and he tries to go to Rio until encountering Mike at the airport as he goes back to the States and sees Kelly is going to get killed by Mike, and the authorities come after. Well, he goes to Rio at first, but then goes anyways. But the authorities come after David, and Mike trades places with David as he goes back to the States, and Mike goes to Rio. And this movie is so bad that I can't believe Jared Hess directed this stupid, terrible film. David comes back to the States and figures out a way to get Steve's house while he has a party at his house, and the neighbors are visiting by Scanlon and her partner, or visited, to get a confession by Steve because the neighbor's wife knew something was up with Steve and Michelle as they have a party, and David sneaks in while the neighbors go to the party as well as beats up on one of Steve's guards and rescues Kelly while gunning her in the stomach and jumps her down, which was dumb enough as it is, while the guard ruins the party and says David is here and tries to shoot him dead, and David tries to shoot Steve dead, but he misses as David and Kelly try to escape and run into the gate, and Steve confesses in front of the van where the cops are at while beating up on David, and not only Steve going to jail, but David and Kelly do as well for 7 years as they visit each other, and they make a promise to keep their bangs as as other prisoners clapped for David because he stole $17 million from Loomis Fargo, as David throws it in the river, and we get to 2004, and David is let out and is picked up by Mike, of all people, and takes him to see Kelly before we get to the credits, with very unfunny bloopers as comes on, as the climax was super unfunny, like this whole damn movie, as it is so not funny. And at the end of the day, how unfunny was this movie? Let's talk about it in a rating. I'll give this movie a 2.7 out of 10. Unlike Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, but as far as I'm concerned, this movie fails to make me laugh, as it doesn't work as a comedy, which is a biopic in an ironic kind of way, while the performances are completely terrible, and I don't like any of the characters, as they all come off rather completely stupid, as this is a stupid movie that sadly happened in real life. I don't know if I believe that. And does any of this movie make sense? Absolutely freaking not whatsoever. This movie has so many bad ideas and so many levels, as that's so damn irritating, while I'm not buying this as a biopic, nor any of the drama that comes up in certain scenes, while it was so unrealistic in so many levels, to a point I freaking hate it. As the action scene in the store was super dumb, and I can't believe this is directed by Jared Hess, as this is a stupid, terrible film. This is perhaps director Jared Hess's worst film, in my opinion. We'll see how the Minecraft movie goes, but it's so not funny, and I didn't laugh at this movie, whereas a Minecraft movie looks like crap, but I'll get there next time. And it might have potential to be funny, maybe, but I'm not sure until next time. But for now, this is a solid non-recommendation for this movie, as it was so not funny whatsoever, as this is so far the worst movie from director Jared Hess, while at the end of the day, it's so unnecessary in so many levels. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with the Minecraft movie. And until then, I shot a freaking 12 gauge with... Anyways, whatever.